Oh, now it's live. All right. So I'm having the same difficulty on here as I was having with Facebook doing the lives. So I think I'm going to put like schematics and things like that up for um, the Cloud Busters. I'm going to wait until it says there's some people watching because it's saying there's none. I don't see anybody there. It's a bit late in the day. I don't know if there's anybody there. Got one blue hole and a monster load of clouds coming in behind it. These bastards. Say hello if you're there, because I can't see anybody. I was supposed to be on at noon today. I ended up having a little mishap with my wood lathe. I jammed my finger in there. Not supposed to do that. Oops. Found out the hard way. So I'm going to try and walk you guys through making the new versions of the Cloudbusters and taking notes or writing them down or whatever. But there's some, that little thing that I made last night. I don't know if you guys saw my Facebook post, but the little Cloudbuster I made last night is the only one I have out there. And I've got really nice skies for the most part all day today. It was blue. It's supposed to be cloudy. I mean, they were really hammered that back mountain way over there. All day today, but as soon as it gets here, I got a blue sky right here over me, and it's breaking it up into these oddball little pockets here. And there's a person over there who's got one now. I know up further, well, down south of me, and they are awesome, man. I can't see any comments on here. This is weird, man. Facebook is just gone. Facebook, it's the digital world is just being quite restrictive of the way that I achieve things. So I will keep this on for a little bit, but I'll do another live video. I want you guys to see how these are put together, but I want to make sure everybody's in here, and I know I'm outside of the scheduled time, so I don't think anybody's going to. So I don't know what to do here. I don't know what the right thing to do here is. Boy, this thing makes my face look like retarded. Look at that. Yeah. I don't like this version. Is there really only one viewer there? Say hello if you're there, if you don't mind. Can't see anybody there. It says that there's one viewer. That's all I can see. But I wanted people to start screen recording. Let me turn you guys over here. Hang on here. I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this here. You can see what I'm doing there anyway. For now, not that it's all that important, but here we go. You see the drill, anyways. Are there any other viewers there? It's saying there's nobody there, man. No matter when I'm doing a live video on any platform anymore, it always starts with one viewer. So I don't know if there's actually somebody there. What if they're playing with me or what? I can't tell. So, I don't know. Goddamn apps, man. This shit is bullshit. Sean, Nicholas Blackwell, I see. I want you guys to learn how to put these new Cloudbusters together, man. They are kicking ass. I don't know if that's what your interests are. I think we're supposed to do a book club. You guys tell me what you want. I'll try and run through the comments if they show them all. But I'm not able to save these. So another thing, if you wouldn't mind, if you want to do this for yourself, do do a screen record of the videos and you can post them later or somewhere else on like maybe Facebook or clips or something like that. I know it's asking a lot, but this is not friendly the way that Facebook was in that regard. I can't do certain things that way. And what I'm trying to do right now is make a tubing cutter real quick so that I can make spacers for. Hang on, I'll go get the other version. I just want you guys to know this is going to revolutionize this whole idea of cloud busting stuff. Like, no joke, for sure. So there are magnets and spacers in here. I've got 3/4 inch spacers in here. And these magnets are all controlling the flow of electrons downward on the central rod. I'm going to make this out of a full-sized one. But this array, these are all upward. So they're creating a magnetic field that's driving electrons up and out of these tubes with the quartz crystal inside for wave propagation. The central rod, that's an etheric. This is what you would see in an old time, on top of an old time house, like a rosebud or a flower, right? That's like a 1 inch, a ½ inch to 1 inch expander cut down into this. So that you need points to gather electrical potential. There's got to be points. That's why like the pyramids are shaped to a point. It's for gathering electrical potential and propagating magnetic, whatever, There's a, I don't know if you guys dig all that stuff or not, but like that's the way that it works. And knowing those kinds of things is why you're able to freely move ahead, Already screen recording, good, awesome. Fancy Pants, do I know? Send me a message and tell me what your real name is. Do I know you? Did I know you from Facebook? But so the old version was just a paint can, and the other stuff in the center of it, the piping. Here, I'll take this one out of here. Actually, I couldn't get that. I have two different kinds of small cans. These are just 1-quart cans. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it out of here now. So pull that out first, and then just take the whole thing faster. I could not get that lid to grab last night. And then I realized I bought two different places. I bought a 1-quart can. But all of this steel wool that's on the inside right now is so you see what this array is all about, right? There's a magnet. All of these magnets are south side up, right? South side is the surface of the earth, grabs static potential, pulls it down out of the sky, controls electron flow into the ground, completing a circuit. The other part of that circuit is the outer rods. Okay, those are propagating upward, outward. I'll send a message after recording. Thanks, Fancy Pants. Funny name, Fancy Pants. So anyway, this is just your typical build on the inside of like one of the full-size 1-gallon paint cans. Okay, same old stuff. But what I did was like on here, this is what the base will look like of the new ones, right? So a central pipe will go down through the center. This is exactly the dimension or the radius that you need to drop down. So it's 5 3/8 of an inch, drops down inside of a regular sized paint can. Doesn't have to be a paint can. You can do it out of anything, just so you guys know. Everybody wants to know like all the schematics, the exact numbers. I need a blueprint. There's so many different stupid questions, and I like keeping this the way that it is, nice and small. You know, because it gets so out of control. There's just so many people asking for so much shit, and I can't keep up with all of them, man. So I want to teach people the science behind it. It's I just said this in a conversation, but you're teaching, you know, people how to fish. You're not feeding them the fish, and that's the important part is getting the knowledge out to other people. You can keep it for yourself if you want, right? But the point here is killing all of the corruption, right? Like this shit that's going on in the sky, we all know what it is at this point now, right? And um, so the idea and the mechanics and the physics are all very simple. Magnets have two directions, okay? Electrons are wave particles that are in continuity with other particles or particulates or water vapor. All of it behaves the same thing. It is all literally all interconnected, one thing into the next. Air molecules into water molecules into earth into whatever. But there's one medium throughout all of it. And I think that's actually hydrogen and different variations of it. My buddy Dale Ferguson on Facebook, he's a super, super smart guy. But between the two of us, I really wish that I could get him on the live with me. Or if anybody here wants to have this thing rocking around, if anybody wants to jump on the live and have a conversation or have any questions through the conversation, let me know. It's saying there's one. This is bullshit, man. It's saying there's only 3 people here. Is that accurate? I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't know. These are pissing me off. So my hopes there are kind of are not being met. I had a lot more hope in what Substack would be this way. I thought it worked like a regular app, and it is for writers, which I'm working on. So if you guys don't like the idea of watching me putzing around in the garage, I'm more than happy to start putting down the things that I'll be writing in my books. I think so. I'm going to go on a couple of different comments or a couple of different topics with those books. One is going to be on the pyramids, how all of that functioned. Another one is going to be on the cloudbusters and the revitalization of old science, which was all of these things being, etheric in their foundations of as an understanding that there were 5 legitimate elements. That other book is going to be about that. The Victor Schaubergers and all these other guys of the time that have been removed from the things that we learned. The evolution of education. That's going to be another part of a book. And I'm excited to do all that stuff, but I need to gain the freedom to do it, and that's a financial thing. So as much as I want to just go out and start blasting away writing books, I don't want to be doing all this shit with AI and cluttering it or degrading the. I have a beautiful view on all of it, the way that it all actually goes, and I feel in my heart, in my soul, that I am definitely not wrong. Right? I don't want to say I'm right about it. Like I don't want to be there. I want to be as humble as I can through all of it. But that's a real difficult thing to do. Like I feel like I'm so far ahead in a lot of topics, and I don't mean that arrogantly at all, literally at all. But like I just see with purity, I see clear. You see 3 as well. Yeah. So somebody tried to call me. Well, um. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to do here was to teach everybody how to do these, how to put the schematics together, but how to make money doing this. Making money doing this, because if you get this to expand, all of that graphene and all of that shit is not going to be a worry anymore, you know? And that's the number one method that they're using in their, that's what they have in their arsenal is it's climate change is going to kill everybody, right? And without it, our war is won. So I want to see that everybody. Keep cutting myself today. I just want to see that everybody is on board with that as an idea that you want to maintain your freedom. You want to let other people around you learn the truth of things with you, um, and just carry the torch, so to speak. That's how I feel about it. Everybody should be carrying this torch. Like if you're here, you probably more than likely, love the idea of having your freedom or maintaining your freedom. And so, I mean, all of that said, I'm not doing much different than I do on Facebook, and I feel bad for that because you guys are the paid subscribers. But I think that if you want the blueprints, I'll throw the blueprints once they're completed together, and you'll see all the sizes, all the numbers, all of the science, all of that methodology is going to all be included in the way. Oh, that's why I forgot I did that. Yeah, look at all the quartz crystal in there. See, so I couldn't get that central piece out of there, and I insulated it last night. Motherfucker! I took that thing out of the ground. My whole sky is completely gray right now. Completely gray. There was little. You see how there was little blue pockets up there? So dirty bastards. Man, does that stuff piss me off. Do I look like a crazy person talking about the right? Am I like the nutty guy? It's like you ever see what the hell is that movie? Goodfellas. He's driving down the road. He's like on cocaine or whatever, and he's looking up in the sky with his over his wheel. What the hell is that guy's name? I can't remember that guy's name right now, but in the movie, that's what he's doing. He's looking up at the sky. He's wondering, is that helicopter there for me? Like I literally do that everywhere I go. I'm looking up at the sky, like, what's the sky look like right now? And the comets haven't moved. We are here. So if you are nutty, so are we. Awesome. That's good. It's just, I think now, like, we gotta rely on each other, right? We know the news is corrupted. The the government is corrupted. We're kind of on our own now, and which is a beautiful thing, kind of, because we can depend on each other, and that we know, like, the further we get other people into understanding, we're the only ones that are going to essentially matter if we want to see a new world now. This son of a bitch. So, what do you guys think about what we talk about through this live? Because there's only 3 people there. I don't have it recording. If you see somebody else, damn, was that thing? How the hell did I get it in there? Oh, I beat the hell out of this with a hammer last night. Holy shit, man. What do you guys want to talk about? Do you want to do the book club thing? I mean, I've got books over there I can read. A couple chapters out of some really cool books, or I don't know. I could restart the live and have everything. Does anybody want to come in and have a conversation on the live? I'm ready to grab a portaband and chop this bitch in half to get this thing back out of here. So, what do you want to do? I'm following you. So if you're crazy, somebody else, yeah. Oh, hi, Denise. So, I don't know what the best thing to do here is now, because like they don't save the videos. Anybody want to come on and have a conversation live? You could restart the live, invite new people. I don't know what to do. I'm so unprepared with it right now. Book club sounds cool. I love the idea of the book club thing. My friend on Facebook mentioned that to me a while ago. Be able to pop in on lives when we have questions. Yeah, I agree. It's a very cool idea. That's a super cool idea. I know. So if you guys want to get yourself a wood lathe, like for sure, this thing is awesome. I do everything with it. This is how I make most of the stuff that I have. Showing it or no? This is so hard to do with that camera being backwards, and I can't change the damn thing. Other way. Jesus Christ. There we go. So, if I want to spin up some wood or anything like that, but I can clamp that with this. And once I do that, I can pull the can off of it. I can spin myself some very cool things. So I did the same thing inside here with the paint can. Book club, let's pick out one for the week or for next week. I've got the ones that would make the most fantastic conversation in following the way that I think about all of these things. You've got to get this book, The Universal One by Walter Russell. If you get this book, it's got all of these diagrams and schematics on how things work. Like, look, and it's the truth. So as I'm saying, like everything works together, and you're talking about hydrogen and these other things. Look at that. The creating universe appears from the one, right? And that says, and disappears into the one, right? And this is the whole idea of creation. One thing is spun in as creation, and the next thing is the decay of that creation. So that is in your life, you are electromagnetic. Well, if I'm more electro, right, that part of me, my soul is going to die more quickly. Or no, it's going to be the opposite way. The magnetic of me is going to die more quickly. So then, I don't know if I'm saying that the right way, but I have this idea, right? We're electromagnetic beings. You're both electricity, but any one thing, if you start to be imbalanced one way or the other, so this book is critical in understanding that kind of stuff. Here's something really cool. Showing on a piano the frequencies of colors. So I can't see what you guys are looking at here. So take a screenshot or a video of that or something. You got to get this book. This is a super, super interesting book. But literally, it's the octaves of colors, right? The octaves of colors are. It's like the number 9 thing. I don't know if you guys ever see me on Facebook talking about the number 9 thing. I don't know where everybody's at. I don't know where you guys came from. So I don't know what the best way to describe what I'm talking about here is, but it's like, so the number 9 in octaves would, be the multiplication table for the number 9, 9, 18, 27, 36, whatever, 45, da, da, da. And so that in different frequencies is different octaves of the 9 things. Doesn't necessarily mean 9 as the number, but 9 as the count, the frequency of those things. 18 would be the frequency of those things. It doesn't have to be a drawn out number. There doesn't have to be any representation of that at all. It's just you have to understand that it's in the next octave of those things. So when you're thinking with a scientific mind and you're trying to figure out how does sound work, how does light work, vibration and frequency and electricity and magnetism and their relationship to each other. When you understand this from like a Rife machine perspective, you're able to start looking at it from how it affects everything on its own level of creation, right? So a cell would have its own level of things in its it's creation. It has to do with density. It has to do with buoyancy, just like the Earth. Same thing with the Earth. You know, it's density, it's buoyancy, it's the creation and decay part of it, how form is brought into existence and released of its existence. Um, last night I said this thing on my live video about the pharaohs being mummified and all of that stuff. I think that we've been brought into this physical idea. Oh, they wanted to preserve their bodies and whatever. It's one of my. I have a few profound ideas, right? Like things that most people wouldn't think of that way, and they're not like some of them aren't just ideas. It's some of them are like I know that this is how it works. Like I can explain it with a given period of time and some help being able to put it into words on paper to be analyzed by people that would be able to do it. But like so the pharaohs, I think that these pyramids were not a burial site. I think that the pyramids were actually a giant soul microwave. So to take the consciousness of that man and accelerate the release of the soul from the physical body, driving that soul into the heavens, making the consciousness of that God or king on earth part of the heavens eternally with the gods in the heavens, right? Immortal, the stars, the angels, the right. So if you think about it that way, the sciences that these guys had back then was far superior to our understanding because it was all spiritual. It was all about light and dark, living in purity and all of that, but we've been removed from it, right? And that as a thing in itself can all be explained in a book like this, right? If you look from that angle, right, where I'm saying here is if you look, so you have these prompts that you can put into an AI chat bot. You can say, every answer you give me, I want you to explain it from the perspective that the earth is flat, there is water in the outs, right? So I can create that prompt on an AI. I can say this is the only way that you're allowed to think when you give me back the answer that I'm asking you a question for. And so what I'm asking you to do is that look at this idea of a firmament. There is water beyond. The souls and the spirits of men were projected upward and outward into the heavens to become part of the divine arrangement of things. Very interesting. Yeah, it really is. So, um, to become part of that divine order, the cosmos is what that meant. It was the divine arrangement that the Greeks tried to duplicate what the Egyptians called it, but that was their word for it was Kosmos, the divine arrangement, to be a part of that sequence of things that determines the outcome of mankind on earth. That spark of intellect or consciousness that you have is based on that cosmic projection of energy on the earth. And that's why the constellations were so important. It was the chemistry of those specific frequencies, all of those different lights, each having their own value. You add them all up into just different octaves of light, right? 9, 18, 27 hertz of whatever would determine the color of those planetes, which meant wandering star. Didn't mean planets. They're physical things out in the heavens, right? So they are in different ranges out of alignment with the rest of the cosmos, the divine arrangement, the every night stars. Um, so the wandering stars were out of alignment with the regular night stars, right? And so discussing it from that perspective now, if you look at that as the arrangement from which you're allowed to think, and you go into a book like this, go, oh my God, like literally everything that they explain even if they say us living on this globe, the rest of the things that they're talking about, right? When they say the word world, they have it well placed in the 20s, right? It's a different word now. It means a physical planet ball thing that we live on, world. But world was an old German word. It was Verald. In this age of man, right? Or this age of man. So in this world, in this age of man, not in this plasmic, this planet, right? We call it a planet. It's inaccurate. It's not a planet. We live on the earth as a plane on the soil. We live on that. Um, but you hear a word like world in here. I have a book. I have a dictionary from like 1942, and in that dictionary it says exactly what I'm saying to you right now. In the arrangement, the time frame, right? In this age of man, in this current time where mankind exists, you know, um, and it explains that with clarity. Like that's what it means. So now, as I say that to you, and you have these ideas on what is mankind, um, what is the current status of the world? The world. When I say that word, it's a totally different thing from that perspective. So I'll read something out of this book. All right, concerning energy, you'll say the universe is simple, right? So this is chapter 9. The universe is simple. Truth is simple. Okay, if you want to take a screenshot, you can read that for yourself after I'm done. Let me figure out how to get it up there nice for you to read. There, now take a screenshot. That's what I'll be reading to you. And the next will be this part of it, if I can get it. This freaking camera is driving me nuts, man. So weird. And this will be your next segment. Take a screenshot again. And then one more time. Take a screenshot again. Okay? Right now. Inner arrows. Da 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 da. Okay? So you can read these things out of this portion of the book. Just on this segment alone, I'm gonna say the universe, the one story, the one song. That is the cosmos. That is the divine arrangement of stars that give you the consciousness that is what you call yourself, right? What you call your consciousness bestowed upon you by the gods above, who were gods on earth. The gods were kingly, noble, royalty, whatever, right? That's what the gods actually were. So when we say the word God, it's a misinterpretation, right? The word God is not like the holiest of holies and all of that. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. The word, like, there's a reason that the like Jewish people will not. They'll say, they'll type out the word God as G underscore D, because they won't say the word in writing. So I'm going to read this to you, and I'll break down from that perspective just how that one change in wording, right? Universe, world, planet, cosmos. Those four are critical. So if you're going from I live on a globe into I live on flat soil, earth, right? I live on the earth. I don't live in the earth, right? But you have to be able to start thinking this way in order for it to come to a sensible place to think from. So I'll read this to you. The universe, one story, the divine thing bestowed upon you, what has made you you, that one story. Like the piano, self-playing piano, has the little wheel with the steel pins that depress these little triggers that make the keys go down. That's what that whole divine arrangement is in the stars. That's the tune that it's playing on this earth. All right. So the universe is simple. Truth is simple. The universal constant of energy is back of all motion. It is available for everyone to use according to his desire. He's speaking about God again, I think. All energy is caused by universal thinking. All thinking is universal thinking, and all thinking is simultaneous, universally. All of the energy of all the universe is back of all thinking. For mind is all that thinks, and there is no variability to the constant of energy, which mind uses in its process of thinking. magnetic, electrical, right? That reciprocity is what creates neurology, right? Electrical impulses and all that. There is apparent variability of intensity of thinking, but that appearance of variability is due to the concentrative ability of mind to accumulate a greater or less amount of the universal constant. Universal constant is the Trinity: electromagnetic, right? Electrical, magnetic, and electromagnetic. The Earth is in three parts: the sky, the the underworld, and the Earth. Right, all three parts. That's electricity, magnetism, and electromagnetism. So the universal constant is all of those things bound together. They all three need to be there for life. Exactly as man harnesses accumulated electric potential to form his work, so may man harness accumulated potential to transform to the low octaves, as I'm saying about the number nine, right, of his outer thinking, the inspired idea conceived in the greater speed of the high octaves of his inner thinking. So your brain is measured alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma, right? 0 to 4 hertz, 4 to 12 hertz, 12 to 20 hertz, right? All the way up to the gamma range, which is like up to 60 or 70 hertz, right? Which is high vibration. This is like my brain never goes off. Like when I'm trying to sleep at night and I'll wake up like 2 hours after I go to bed because I thought of something, or I woke up and I just randomly knew something, which is like weird shit. And this happens to me, right? And so it sounds odd. And, I don't like to say things like that because it makes you sound like Charlie Manson, but like I literally wake up sometimes and I just know something, right? But it's because of the occult stuff that I'm always reading. It's not a curse so much, but it's an understanding of the way that all things function and our removal from that, you know? I haven't seen a comment in a long time. You guys there? So, the more electrical potential a man can concentrate, the more work he can perform. Similarly, the more concentrated in his thinking, the greater is his power to create, to command, or to do. Concepts are born in high speeds of the high octaves of inner thinking, where speed, time, dimension is preponderant. They are then transformed into power, time, dimension by resisting the motion established in the concept by the generative action of concentrative thinking. The speed time concept is thus converted into the illusion of form in accordance with the individual ability of man to apply the resistance brakes, which will transform the invisible reality. Right? So reality is ality in this moment. I am sensuality, physicality, mentality, right? Um, actu in the act of in this moment, actuality. Why did they ever call it reality? Because we're here again. That consciousness came from the stars, from the heavens. That consciousness is bestowed upon you by the zodiac and all that stuff. So, and that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but it just resonates in you. If you don't feel that, then I'm the wrong guy for you to listen to. I'm sorry. I'll give you your money back, but like that's where I'm at with understanding the spiritual aspects to where we're coming from. Right? We come from the stars. The soul is eternal. The soul will always return to the stars. Got one life to live, make it count. That's what the Bible that make us fear. But what's that do? It drives the mechanical system, right? The thing that sucks the life out of us. This vampiric system to you know um, exploit you for every bit of resource that you have. All of the energy to make you work for things for somebody else to benefit or profit off of your efforts. So. Concepts are born in the high speeds of the high octaves of inner thinking, where speed, time, dimension is preponderant. They are then transformed into power, time, dimension by resisting the motion established in the concept by the generative action of concentrative thinking. The generative principle, a lot of guys say they're wrong. It is gnosis, right? It is to be in harmony with both sides of your mind is to be brought to gnosis, right? To know everything. That's what the square and the compass and the Freemasonry stuff and Rosicrucian heart and all that. I think I drew that recently, right? The up and down triangles in the Seal of Solomon, right? Um, but that's what it is. It's the unification of the magnetic and the electric, right? That's gnosis, to understand that I am the third part in all of that trinity. Right? I am 5 parts in total. I am earth, air, wind, wind, air, wind. What do I keep doing it? Earth, water, air, and fire, and ether. The ether is both sides of the brain. See? Like a pyramid, right? 3 sides on a pyramid times 4. That's the quadrivium and the trivium brought into unification. But I am 5 parts, right? My body is 5 parts. That's what the pentagram represents in reality, in actuality, right? The way that we speak trains the way that our mind works, So it doesn't mean generative principle. Generative principle is like willing things into existence based on the way that your mind works. So the speed-time the concept is thus converted into the illusion of form in accordance with the individual ability of man to apply the resistance brakes, which will transform the invisible reality of concept into the visible illusion of form. Visible illusion of form. What you see, the mind has created, right? We can both look at um, a red Mustang car, all dolled up with mag wheels on it, and one person can be liberal, one person could be a conservative, and the liberal will be looking at it like, "Oh my God, that's not fuel efficient," and then the conservative will like, "Yeah, horsepower, baby," right? So it's what you see in that thing. That one thing is 2 sides of the same, but that's the imbalance. It's not being at gnosis to know that there will be the argument on that right side and that argument on the left side, and to find that harmony between the two is really where we all are trying to get to, right? That's what I read these books for, because at that point, that's when you're able to bring these greater thoughts and greater ideas into your perspective of learning, into your actuality, your ability to dissect the physical world with your spiritual mind. So that's the hard part in all of it. I'm not professing. I'm just saying, for me, this is the way that I see these things for myself. If you guys align with that, that's awesome. It's better conversation for later. But so the varying power of men to achieve because of their varying desire to generate the impetus of a concept into power is also to be found in every particle of matter in the universe. Every particle of matter in the universe, concept into power. So a particle, everything has its own resonant field, no matter what you're talking about. And it's varying octaves from the smallest to the largest, macro to micro, endless in both directions. Just as various energies are appropriated by man in accordance with his desire, so are varying energies absorbed by varying particles of matter. Just as a dynamo generates power to perform work, so does every mass generate it. Just as the work accomplished by man or by a dynamo is proportionate to his or its ability to generate a dimension of energy sufficient for the work desired, so is the work produced by a mass proportionate to its desire. Every light unit, atomic system, planet, or sun either performs its work by the energy which it generates, and by so doing makes it progress through the system in the orderly manner, keeping ever in the progressive current, or it degenerates and gets into the opposite flowing stream and retrogresses. Right, the opposite flowing stream and retrogresses. Decay, right? So that's creation and decay in all things. It is as characteristic for mass to resist its evolution as it is for man to do so. The desire for the easier way is as strong in one as it is in the other. The lines of least resistance are those which lead back to the magnetic stream to inertia. The pace in the electrical stream is swift and hard. Every inch of progress must be earned by the hard work necessary to overcome the inertia of the previous inch. Every inch of progress must be earned by the hard work necessary to overcome the inertia of the previous inch. Every inch earned must be stabilized by erecting opposing pressure walls to prevent losing the ground gained. So you've got a driving static potential on the inside of a wire, and you wrap it with a rubber coating. You have an insulator, and those electrons have nowhere to go but forward because of that driving potential. A pyramid with the earth resonating Schumann resonance, the energy encapsulated into the quartzite crystals inside of the granite blocks under pressure of weight, mechanical stress, and tension, driving a cyclical circuit. A point at the top, gathering etheric static potential down and in, but utilizing that as its in its reciprocal nature. It's driving a force back out, right? There's electromagnetic readings up over pyramids there. I posted something on my Facebook, but all of it behaves the same way. So they're taking the air, the wind, the electrical potential out of the sky, drawing it down to that magnetic base and driving a photonic beam. Photons are just one side of electrons. It's the light part, the light and dark part, right? But to separate the two in a way and drive one off into space, creating plasmonic energy in the stars above. So the photonics, right? They say it's a two-part punch. So it's photons and plasmonics. So one part is to drive and separate, right? And the other one is to pierce. So if you've got 40 days of rain and 40 days of night, because it just keeps on raining, and then there's a great flood, is it the water from above for 40 days? What I think is the Atlanteans pierced that dome. And they, so we know that the Earth at one time was up at a specific geological height. That's 300 meters below the sea level now. That's a lot of freaking water, right? So what was the oxygen content on the Earth before this vessel has filled up by that much, shoved up and outward, right? So you talk about giants, what would they need to exist on Earth? A high oxygen content, right, to stay alive. We don't have that anymore. So I'm saying that the pyramids, I think, at one time pierced that dome, and the waters from above came through. Egypt gets flooded, right? What's the only thing that can move that much sand onto that much landmass? Water. So the Great Flood definitely happened, and the Sphinx was there for definitely 30 to 40,000 years ago, and all the things I read and found, not fictional things like geological studies and everything else. The Younger Dryas period was like 13,000 years, so it's 11,000 years BC, right? 11,500 or 11,800 years pre Jesus. So that would make it now 13,000 something, right? Maybe 14,000 years, almost. So the Sphinx was there, definitely, right? If you look up anything by Dr. Robert Schoch, you'll find that out. Like for sure, the Sphinx was there before, whenever that great flood was there. So that gives you a totally different narrative to look at now. Well, if the Sumerians or the Babylonians or Akkadian Empire or what the hell is that? Why can't I think of it? Mesopotamians. I couldn't think of Mesopotamia. But if that whole story in the book of Enoch wasn't a plagiarism of the watchers, the stars above, right? The gods in the heavens, the angels that came down to earth who have impregnated the daughters of men, right? How did they impregnate them? Not with semen, like they didn't have a physical act with them. They projected the resonant energy into their bodies, creating the consciousness within the womb, right? So the angels, the Anunnaki, the aliens, all of those things they're talking about across all platforms are plasmonics. It's a radiant energy that determines the outcome of physical things on Earth. Just like you've got a 5G tower next to you giving you headaches and all that stuff, same type of resonant energy. You put kids underneath fluorescent lights at their high school or grade school, they start acting all messed up and nutty, right? So radiant light has an absolute effect on your body. If you don't believe that, you're an antenna. You're always absorbing light. You're always absorbing frequencies from different places. Take your key fob, stick it underneath your neck, and extend the distance for which you can reach your vehicle and control the remote, functions of that vehicle. You put that under your neck, you'll get another 50 or 100 feet out of it because you have made the electrical water in your brain an amplifier for radio signals. So you are a walking antenna, literally, and I can prove that to people. Maybe not in here. So that's saying 60 volts per meter right now. So radio frequency, because I am streaming, is probably much higher than it typically would be. And I've got all these cloudbuster type things around here. But if I grounded this thing off, no, I'm being bombarded by my phone or something. I don't know. All right, so right there, now I'm at one very low radio frequency, right? And that number is going to climb once I put it to my head because I am a transmitter, right? I'm a walking transmitter. It won't be by that much, maybe, right? But it depends on the brainwave frequency that you're in, what this thing will pick up. And this isn't a direct connection to my brain like you would have electrodes on an EEG machine or anything like that either. This is for picking up ambient EMF or electrical static or whatever, So here he's talking about the relationship. So order of hardness and compactedness or compactness. So this is basically to explain. So you've got oxygen and hydrogen and water, right? And under the way that we learned, we don't understand that there is an ether. There's a fabric that bonds those two together. That fabric that is there is in all things. That is the God, right? That is the spiral of life that is in all things, right? Right here. That spiral of life is the 369. I can't do this way. It's messing me up. The 369, right? Why are they shaped like that? Because my hand is shaped like that. Because the spiral, the galaxies in the heavens above are a reflection of that which is below, right? So in that divine or golden ratio or divine proportion, like what they call that in all these different terms, what he's explaining now is that one fabric in all things. So how does the water get into the dirt to begin with, right? Why is it absorbent? Why is its density lighter than that of the dirt? How does it seep into the dirt, right? All these things factored into place, right? If I pick up a scoop of dirt and in my hands and I run it underwater and then I squeeze it together and I've got a mud ball and then I go outside and I drive some electrons out of that mud ball with the radiant energy of the sun, some of that hydrogen is going to still bond some of that earth together, right? But the sun can't reach that, so you'll have a little bit of decay. Some of the outer dirt would fall off of it. Some of the inner dirt would stay compacted and tight together. You leave it sit somewhere for 100 years, and you got a stone, right? Limestone or whatever, depending on the local geology or whatever, right? So it's super interesting when you start to go through how all of these are just different electron counts or different proton counts, I guess is what is better to say, not I always say electron counts, but if you go through the periodic table, you start to see when you change the number of protons through ionization, you're basically just moving into another element, right? And so what I'm going to show you here is how he describes that in this crisscross thing. The way that it all behaves is in that cyclical function, right? So in the divine proportion is 1.618 to 1. That's the the ratio. It's 1.618 to 1. So the first bone in my finger is 1 inch. The next bone would automatically be 1.618 larger. Next bone would be 1.618 larger. The finger to the hand would be, the hand wrist to knuckle would be 1.618 larger. The wrist to the elbow would be 1.618 larger than the size of the hand overall. This is what the Vitruvian Man, right? Michelangelo or whatever it wasn't Michelangelo, Da Vinci, right? Draws the Vitruvian Man with his arms in three separate positions inside of the circle, the square, and the triangle, right? So that's an expression of the golden ratio, but that is life. And then I curl up my hand, and what do I have? The perfect which way to the beach, right? So you get what I'm saying there, like that divine thing, that spirit, that soul, the God in all things is there. The God in all things. That's what they were talking about. The great spirit, the heavenly body, the heavenly spirit in all things. God is in everything, as we said as kids, as in Catholicism. But it prepares you for this knowledge you can later gain in life if you um, adhere to whichever system you're brought up under, as a child. So if you took a picture of that, the order of hardness and compactedness, like there's these three different variables involved in that, right? And that would be the density of those materials, the electron count, right? That's basically what it is. So it's the density of that material, the level of ionization. That's if I've got wood, I put flame to it, I drive the electrons out, right? So um, what that would be, elementally, I don't know. But you drive the electrons out of the wood, you're left with soul, spirit, energy, right? And it becomes a fuel. And the magnetic body, just like our bodies, the earth in us, right? The earth part of our five energy foundation is dropped when we die. The spirit rises. The Viking is in Valhalla. They knew that if you burnt the body, that was the quickest trip, right? That was the quickest trip to the heavens into Valhalla was to be burnt. To be ionized. The soul would be released from the body by applying a stronger electromagnetic force. Just because it's fire, right? We don't look at it as a magical thing or spiritually like, whoa, that's wild. Why would they burn everybody? It's in every culture that way to get to the heavens, to get the soul body into the heavens. So with the Khan, Khan, the Ka, and the Ba in ancient Egypt. And that previous to this flood, I think that what we call white people, right? Red hair, blonde hair, blue eyes. I think the blonde hair, blue eyes people were the earliest versions of physical men on Earth. But like look up the Red Lady of Madrid. Look that up. What is the Red Lady of Madrid? And it's like a lady they found with red hair and white skin over in Spain from like a cave that was not buried or covered in 19,000 years ago with other sophisticated kind of shit in there. So it's the Red Lady of Madrid. So 19,000 years ago, they found a red-haired lady with light skin, as far as the DNA was concerned. 19,000 years ago. Well, I thought that they were all dark. I mean, you got to look at the history behind it, the Moors and all that stuff, and their takeover of all these different places throughout that time frame. But overtaking lands by outnumbering the native population and all that, and like that's just the way that it's always worked. And the people that control all of it stay in control of all of it. Uh, it's like a stacked team. Um, if you're talking about NFL football, right? Give one team $50 million to work with, and give all the rest of the teams $1 million to work with. Eventually that $50 million team is going to be unstoppable no matter what, right? If you're talking about football or any other kind of thing, academia, right? Or science or philosophy or the colleges of these things, or nobility and royalty, right? Military, all that stuff. So these people keep all of that energy, contained for themselves. But as you can see here, right? Oh, I would have to be on this side, I think. Inner arrows indicate the direction of increasing hardness. Outer arrows indicate the directions of increasing softness. So these are all elements. Where the hell am I at here? This is so hard to do, honestly. Here, you know what I'm doing? I'm changing this bastard. I'm turning it around. Can I? There we go. All right, so lithium and is that calcium? No, I don't know. Cesium, but hydrogen, right? So look at hydrogen as a foundation for all of these other things. As I'm talking about the ball of mud, right? What's this side? F. Is that iron? What is F? Fluorine. Hold on, let me look. Whatever. I mean, so whatever it is the point is that it all changes, right? Like so, it all changes based on. All right, let me read this part. Hardness means degree of solidity or resistance to penetration. Hardness is the result of opposition to inertness, the inability to take on radiation, right? Or penetration, right? Don't get all perverted. Hardness is the result of opposition to inertness. Therefore, the farther an element is removed from the inert gas of its octave, the harder it is. The periodicity of hardness is in the order of the pressure zones, those of the first pressure zone being the softest and the fourth being hardest. As the elements harden, their ecliptic areas contract from maximum expansion and minimum extension in the first pressure zone to zero expansion and maximum extension on the carbon line of the fourth pressure zone. At the bottom, he says hardness is an accumulation of the dimension transformed into power or high potential. Carbon is the end of the cycle's inhalation. It has therefore the highest potential. From that element, exhalation begins its 5 octaves of lowering and rising potential in alternative sequence. Right? So, like, this guy wrote this book in like 1910, I think, or 1914. I can't remember the year. So the reprint is 2022, but it's old as hell. Right? Doesn't say. Doesn't say which year. Oh, 1927. 1927. He wrote it much earlier. I think the print came out a lot later, though. Copyright 1926, though. It took him a long time to write, but all of these different things are in here, right? Equilibrium, the balance, and the harmony in all of those things. Bringing yourself to that place. Again, it's female in preponderance. It's the three, the Trinity is what you're going to find in everything, right? I'm telling you, when you get this book and you start, I mean, there's a couple other books I would probably dig into before getting something like this, because it gets kind of, and by him, actually, it would be better. But I mean, you've got to be willing to take yourself into a place intellectually that you've never experienced in your life, you know? Denise. So it's, I mean, you've got to be willing to question all of this, what we call reality, right? It's the actuality in all things. You've got to be willing to swallow hard and accept it for whatever it is. For whatever it is, right? Truth doesn't change based on, physicality, right? Or not physical. Like, so the truth is what it is. You cannot change the truth in things, but the truth is also, it depends on the people that are experiencing it, right? Just like the red Mustang, right? I can say that car is awesome. It's super horsepower, or man, it's a gas guzzling piece of shit. right? What is the truth in that statement? It depends on the viewer. So all of that, I've got to bring myself to a place of nothingness in my search for becoming more than man, right? I want to be more than man on this earth. I don't only want to be an animal drinking addictive alcohol or smoking addictive drugs or, you know, a deviant in whatever kind of method like that, right? I don't want to be only man. Everybody can be only man. I want to ascend. I want to bring myself to godliness here on earth, right? I can't believe that he has this globe on here. That pisses me off. It really pisses me off at this point, like because I know where we're at now, and that people this smart, they either did and they were part of the argument, or they were just run through the mills, right? So this is 1927. This is right around the Rockefeller time when he really penetrated all the colleges and stuff. I don't know how old Walter Russell was by the time he wrote this book at this time, but I know for sure at this point. I know the Earth is freaking flat, man. It is a Earth. It's flat. If I dump dirt on the ground, it flattens itself out, right? Due to electrical potential and the draw from the magnetic base, right? Boom, brought to form here at this spot. And then the water rushes in or the wind blows it into something, right? So you've got that cyclic nature to all things brought to form, and it's just, I love these topics. I love the depth of all of these topics. I want to bring everybody with me into the place that I can from the where I understand these things this way, and I'm lacking on time right now. I've been extremely busy. And I feel real bad that I didn't give much to the paid subscribers more than the other people. So, I mean, you guys tell me what you would rather have, right? You are paying to see me do this. I don't know. Is it worth it for you? Is it not worth it for you? Video stop streaming? Huh. Maybe because I said the earth is flat. So you guys tell me what it is that you're after, like what are you in here for? Could you all do that for me? Send me a video, or not a video, but send me a message and tell me like what you're what things you find to be the most profound, what things you want to discuss the most. Um, if you want to discuss these on a live video with me one day, say, hey, let's set up a conversation for a live video for members only. I'd love to have that part of it. I mean, that's my favorite thing is being able to have like an actual conversation with people, because I can't do that on Facebook anymore. Like every time I invite somebody on, they don't let them on unless they're like, some. I've had some pretty weird people that were allowed to get on, and the really, really smart people were not allowed to get on. So it's like this degradation and this compartmentalization of who can talk to who, right? There's like a grading system built into Facebook, like for sure. And, they're happy to make you look like less than what you are. So I really want you guys to, it's new, give it in time, and this subscriber page will evolve to what it's meant to be. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know like, I'm not like a content creator. I hate that term, right? I hate when people say I'm a content creator. Like, I don't want to be a content creator. I want other people to see with clarity, right? A lot of people. I want a lot of people to be able to do the work of Jesus, like, um, but you can't do that until you remove yourself from the equation. You can't be worldly. You can't be helpful and proper and unique. Like it's any level of conformity is just. I want to maintain my abstraction throughout the rest of my life. I want other people to see the freedom of that abstraction and making yourself better daily. So I mean, for me, that's a very intimate thing personally. I wake up and my uncle gave me this poem when I was a kid. You'll have to look it up, but I don't remember. I did have it memorized for the majority of my life, and I used to say it every day. But it was all the way that I said it was from this physical mind. What we're trained into, this machine thought process. Everything is mechanical. material, you know, but it was something like, today is a new day. Uh, I can I can use it for good or for evil. I want it to be success, not failure, and da da da. All these great things about what I'm going to do with this day. And at the end, it says, I want it to be worth it in order to get back what I have exchanged for it. So the time spent on all of these things, I want the fruits to come back, like tenfold in a way or something. But that's the poem. I'll try to send it to you guys. But he gave me that when I was 5 years old, and he made me memorize the words. When we said it every night before I went to bed. He stayed with me and my mom while he was going to college, and he was my wrestling mentor. He got me wrestling when I was like 4 years old. Um, but I love the man so much, right? And it's when you have somebody like that gives you these things freely, for love. It's great that I still remember that. That's 45 years ago that I'm remembering that poem. He got it from college as he was going to college, and I'm just like, I want to be more versed on the paint cans. Of course, anything you want to know, send me a message. I'll send you pictures. I'll send you an order of how to put them together. Um, I think the canned stuff is just as important as the older knowledge that was hidden from us. So the really profound thing that I want to say, right? I mean, I did this on the one live that the first time I had a live. What goes into these things is exactly the same functionality of the pyramids. As I'm talking about the pyramids making the stars, these crystals inside of these corks are under mechanical stress from the cork squeezing onto the crystal. The tube of copper is a resonant chamber for that to compound itself, right? But it creates this vortices like this right here. Damn, it's just hard. So this vortices, right? You have one going up and one coming down, as in all things, right? As above, so below. You drive a screw down from the top, it would be righty tighty, lefty loosey. I go down on the bottom and I look up at that screw, and it's lefty loosey, right? Or righty loosey, lefty tighty, right? Because you're looking at it from a different perspective. So what you see the sky as is what you see on the earth. From the earth is all a reflection of what's down here, right? So that's why the Orion constellation is the entire country of Egypt. Ask me for that picture. I'll send you that picture, or I'll post that picture. But I overlaid the Orion constellation onto all of the ancient sites in ancient Egypt, and I was able to locate like a temple for every star. And then they found two more. This Dr. Robert Edward Grant, or whatever his name is, another gatekeeper kind of guy. He goes, I think it's probably 8 months ago. It was last summer, sometime last summer. I woke up and I started watching YouTube, and this pops up in front of my face. Like, I don't even follow the guy. I don't know where the video came from. He says, look, we found two more pyramids in the southeastern or southwestern portion of Egypt under the sand, and they're going to start excavations soon. And I'm like, those are the two that I couldn't find, that it didn't show up on the maps of the ancient monuments in ancient Egypt. And I'm like, I knew those were there already, like, because that was the first thought that I have was, oh, there's pyramids there, but I don't see them on the map, right? They're not recognized by anybody, right? And so you start talking about like Gobekli Tepe and all this stuff. Like, this is the earliest versions of any of that, those submit of that area, of that era, right? Like anything pre dynastic Egypt is like a mystery to everybody, So, but I knew that they were there. So ask me, bigger. What do you mean? What is bigger? The constellation, Deb? I'll ask me to send you the picture. Just send me, if you're curious about that, ask me to send you the picture that I made of the constellation of Egypt. Now you have to think about the dome that's above, right? So as a dome, if you're thinking about the ancient Egyptian Ankh, right? The base is the stem, that's the male, and then the dome above is the female, right? The plane of inertia at the center, right? As Dale said last night, that was a very cool thing that my buddy Dale said. He's a Scottish dude. These are three big magnets, right? I pick one smaller magnet, and that magnet wants to stay directly in the center. I can't get it to do anything else but stay directly at the plane of inertia. You see? Directly at the center of the electrical field. So I could turn it all kinds of different ways. Now the south is north or whatever, but I'm probably not holding it directly still, which I would need to. But isn't that wild? Right? Like I'm not holding that there. Why is it doing that? No, it's going to want to drop off. Isn't that crazy? It's just, it's doing its own thing up on top. I've done so many experiments with these things. But anyway, the bigger point in that is like you start to do all these experiments yourself, and you start to see all these things the way that they actually are, and your reality, your actuality starts to change. Oh, bigger cans? You want to make bigger cans? I don't know what you mean. I want to be more versed on the paint cans. Bigger? No, bigger paint cans. And that's where I started off, was so that resonant energy from these crystals is what the quartzite does inside of the pyramids. So as I'm explaining the pyramids to you, this is exactly the same thing. It works exactly the same way. This is ancient Egyptian technology putting these together for cloud busting. Right? You're like everything is sunny outside right now, and I've got other equipment in the yard, yard art. But you're welcome to know anything you want. I'll send you the blueprints once they finally get done. I still have to get back to that guy on all the dimensions, so I had a pretty busy week. I didn't get the opportunity to put it all together for him. And he's a legitimate architect, and he's going to draw me up a couple of really nice blueprints. For you guys, what I'll do is I'll mail them to you. I'll print them out and I'll mail them to you. Bigger like at the museum. Oh, when I went to see, yeah. You want to know about the bigger? So those weren't cloud busters. This was a cloud maker. That's why he had hoses running off of these things. See those hoses? They run down to Rangeley Lake. This lake, I'm telling you, you've got to see this place. It is the most beautiful place. You're up on top of this mountain looking down into this bay. Man, you got to go through my Facebook posts. I think I made a video or a reel on it, my travels there. But when I was at that museum, but to drive in, I'm just looking down off the side of the highway. That has to be the most beautiful place in the summertime. Wintertime is a freaking nightmare because the elevation is so high, and Maine is like the tundra, literally. So I wouldn't want to live there in the wintertime. But man, what a beautiful place. Anyway, he's got those hoses running off into a freshwater lake, and he used some form of electricity to either hydrolyze or oxidate the water and the water molecules. So look, you see how that sky looks? Like you don't see any profound part of this image that determines that they're in a very sunny environment, right? So that was one of the things that he was known for. If you look him up, you'll find YouTube videos on Wilhelm Reich that will tell you. There was a farmer went to Wilhelm Reich and asked him, "Hey, we have a drought. We haven't had rain in so long, and blah blah blah. Can you fix this for me?" Well, that was a disaster capitalism thing by our government. You got these guys like Percival Bush and the rich bankers. They've always been here, right? So they were driving droughts for disaster capitalism, and they were controlling the weather that far back. But it's easier to create a drought than it is to create rain. And so what they would do is, they ionize the earth, right? They dry out the earth, and they create, an imbalance in the earth and its ability to yield a specific crop. Well, they do that by engineering these droughts. This farmer calls Wilhelm Reich, says, "Hey, I heard you can make rain. Can you do this for me?" He goes there within 3 days. He gets this guy rain for his farm and sets up all this equipment and everything. But that's what he's famous for, is creating rain. And the government stole all of his technology and had him put in prison for the FDA. So this was the disaster capitalism. Now you drive the farmer out of the ability to create a yield. Hey, I'll give you 5 cents for every dollar that land is worth. Well, how did the Bush family come into the ownership of so much land in Texas? Right? And you get what I'm saying here? So they made the land hold no value, threw a number at somebody that couldn't scratch their ass with a coin, right? And bam, we buy all this land off you. Well, he fucked that problem up. He fucked that up on them, right? Like, hey, this everybody can look and see this stuff. It was like in magazines and stuff. But that's why they ended up having Wilhelm Reich put into prison, was for the orgone accumulator. It was curing people of cancer because of the orgone situation. So I can build boxes. I know how to put them together. I just haven't applied time to it because I don't have the time for it now. Yeah, Maine is beautiful. Yeah, so like I could build those orgonite chambers. What they were talking about, it's about a direction flow of ions, how you structure the materials that you layer together and contain them, right? So it's about dry, just like I say about taking water. You want to make a magnetic water vessel. You want the south side up, and you set your vessel on top of it. This will draw the positive static out of your water. Your water will be healthy, draw any impurities that are positively charged in your body out of the body in a cyclical format, just like Walter Russell is saying in that book, right? So that cyclical feature in all things. If you have negative ions in your body, it will draw everything out. Well, what do they hit us with all this static potential, cancers, and all this other stuff? Look at what you got, right? So now, to keep healthy, ionically charged water in my body, magnetic water, is the answer for those impurities. So that's all I need to keep my body healthy and clean is negative ions, negative ionic water. So you take a big, powerful magnet, and I'm going to start making. If you guys want, I'll make you one, and I'll send you a link on where I got these magnets from and exactly what size they are. But I think I'm going to have a hard time mailing anything out that's magnetic, just so you guys know. So I wouldn't ask me for the magnet itself. But I'll give you the dimensions of the magnet. And what I'll mail to you is I'll make you a little plate or a bowl. Like goes for your food, your soup. Everything will taste better. All of the positive static will be gone, right? It's dead stuff. So when you ever see these guys, they build the copper pyramids and they say the fruit lives longer inside of those pyramids because that oxidation that would be hitting that food that's inside of that copper pyramid are being drawn out and away, right? Same thing with putting a copper crown on your head to go to sleep with, right? It's balancing all that stuff for you. So that's what the magnet does, the same exact thing, because it's like grounding yourself on Earth. The Earth is a magnet. So if I got the South Pole up and the North Pole down, that's the creation of that flow of ions will be down to the Earth. That's how those cloud busters are put together, is the same way, these new cloud busters with the magnets. So that's what I want to put together for you guys. And as far as, ow, God, man, that thing is freaking, oh, ouch. So I pinched the balls off me. Not really my balls, but so the it's getting that negative charge into your body and maintaining it and staying grounded and all of that is why it's super important. You got to read The Body Electric. That's another great book. Body Electric. God damn, that hurt. So The Body Electric is important. The Invisible Rainbow is super important. There's a lot. There's a lot to, but it's a simple concept. So if yeah, oh dear, it hurt. Um, Not me. I don't say oh dear. I'm an F bomber. Just so you know, Deb. I hope I don't hurt your feelings with some of the way I talk. It gets rough. I'm a construction worker my whole life. I'm not Gandhi. I always tell everybody. So if I drop the F bomb, please don't be offended. So, but it's all about this cyclical nature within our body, within any organic structure, any life. Um, Again, I'm sorry I was late today and I caught you guys so late. Might be good for some people. The other people that were probably wanted to be on here at noon are probably pissed, but um, had a pretty messed up day and I don't know. I didn't know what to do at that time anyway. I was already busy and so I'll try and make it up tomorrow, I guess. But I'd like to make it Sunday afternoons. What time, I don't know. I think 3 o'clock would probably be a little better to make it more fair to So the British people are going to be late. They're 5 hours ahead of me. So 3 o'clock would give them 8 o'clock. And anybody who's behind me, like California or West Coast, they'd be 3 hours behind me, which would be noon in the morning. Noon for them. So I think 3 o'clock would be a better time. And I'm usually not doing anything on Sunday. By the time I get done going to get my water and whatever, it'll usually be about 3 o'clock. But I don't know. I don't have much else to say, guys, but you please just send me a message and ask me for whatever kind of information you want. I am going to start writing here, and I'm going to start putting blueprints up. I'm also going to start, on the topics of the things that I'm writing. I don't know if it's a good idea to put the direct passages of the things that I'm going to write about, as my explanation of the earth being flat and the stars being created and all of that stuff. I don't know what to do with that, if I should mention it or not. Uh, it's a dangerous topic, and you wouldn't understand unless you were the one saying it all the time, because it kind of knocks the whole idea of NASA out. And we all know what they're doing with the sky now, right? So it's dangerous stuff, you know. I'm not laughing at your pain, anger. Yeah, a Navy way. Oh yeah, curse like a sailor. I bet then. All right. But I hope you guys enjoy what I had to say about this stuff. I mean, I hope that it helps somewhat. You get a little bit of we got another book here, The Water Wizard, Victor Schauberger. There's a lot of good books here. There's a lot of good books here. I have so many different books that I can talk about that I would really like to jump on with you guys. So, all right, I am going to get off of here and again, I'm sorry I was late, and I don't know. Tell me what you think the best content to put out there is, because I don't want to be a content creator. I want people to learn with me, So, um, I don't know. This Substack thing turned out. Thanks, Fancy Pants. All right, guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna make a bunch of cloud busters because we're gonna get hammered tomorrow. See you later. See, I can't end it. They're doing it again. I hate this.